Uniondale School District. Introduction. The iPad program in the Uniondale School District is designed to provide access to cutting-edge tools appropriate for learners of varied interests and abilities. Providing students with iPads to use at home or in the classroom demonstrates our commitment to educating our students as 21st-century learners and ensuring they become college and career-ready. The use of the iPad in a learning environment meaningfully integrates technology into the curriculum, providing students with extended opportunities to discover, create, learn, reflect, and communicate.
Procedures. While this handbook addresses the use of iPads that are distributed to students to use both in and out of school, it also applies to the use of iPads, and other devices, that will not leave school and will be permitted only for in-classroom use. Teachers may establish supplementary requirements in their own classrooms to ensure effective and safe utilization.
iPad returns. The iPad must be returned in satisfactory condition. Students will be held financially responsible for any damage done to the iPad. Students will be notified of the procedures they will need to follow for the return of the iPads. iPads and accessories must be returned when students are requested to do so. If a student leaves the school district for any reason, his or her iPad must be returned by the last day of enrollment. If a student fails to return the iPad by the end of the school year or by the last day of enrollment, the student will be responsible for the replacement cost. The student will be required to pay for the replacement of the iPad or, if applicable, the insurance deductible, $250. Failure to return the iPad will result in a theft report being filed with the police department, care of the iPad. Students are responsible for taking care of their school-issued iPad. In the event that an iPad breaks or fails to function properly, the iPad must be returned to your math teacher, guidance counselor or library media specialist, protecting the iPad. All users must adhere to all Uniondale School District acceptable use, technology and district policies. Carefully insert cables to prevent damage. Keep iPads free of writing, drawing, stickers, or labels not included with the device upon receipt. Never leave the iPad in an unlocked locker, car or unsupervised area. Students must keep their iPad's battery charged for school each day. Keep the iPad in its protective case at all times. Take good care of the screen of the iPad. Use a clean, soft, dry or anti-static cloth to clean the screen, never use a cleanser. Don't lean on the top of the iPad. Don't put any pressure on the iPad. Don't place anything on the case that will press against the screen. Take care not to knock the iPad against walls, floors, lockers or anything hard to avoid breaking the screen. Use of the iPad at school. For those students for whom iPads are permitted to leave school, they must remember to bring them to school every day unless told otherwise by their teacher. Teachers will set up expectations for the use of the iPads in their classrooms. The iPad may be used for accessing information also available to students through the network. If a student neglects to bring an iPad to class, assignments must be completed and expectations met as if they had their iPad in class. Charging the battery. Bring your iPad to school fully charged. Use an electrical wall outlet only to charge your iPad. Do not use a computer port for charging. Screensavers and background photos. Screensavers and background photos must be appropriately selected. Symbols, images and photos may not represent guns, weapons, alcohol, drugs, or gang-related symbols. Images may not be pornographic or use inappropriate language. Home internet access. Students are permitted to set up wireless networks on their iPads so they may use them at home. The district's acceptable use policy must be followed at home and in all locations. Sound, music, games, or programs. Mute sound unless teacher grants permission. A selection of apps will be installed by the district. Students who load apps from their own accounts must adhere to the expectations set forth in the acceptable use policy. The district reserves the right to review a student's iPad at any time, managing files and saving work. There are several ways to manage files on the iPad. VMware – students can utilize the VMware app to save and open documents to and from their network home folders in or out of district. Students will use their network logins to connect to their home directories. Email – most iPad productivity apps support the ability to open and email Word documents, PowerPoints, spreadsheets, PDFs, images, or other common file types. Students and teachers can exchange course-related files through their school-supplied email accounts. Cloud-based services. Students may also have the option to utilize any number of free cloud-based options such as Dropbox. While the district allows the use of such services by students on their iPads, the district cannot be held responsible for supporting these services or for the data stored, network connectivity. Apps on iPads. The Uniondale School District will make every effort to keep the network functional at all times. However, no guarantees can be made and the district cannot be held responsible for lost or missing data. District-installed apps. The apps originally installed by the Uniondale School District must remain on the iPad in usable condition and be accessible at all times. The district may add apps for use in a specific course with licenses that may require deletion from the iPad at the conclusion of the class. Students may not remove required apps. iPads will be subject to spot checks to ensure compliance with this rule. Additional apps. The district will manage district-installed applications on all student iPads. Students will be permitted to download apps of their choosing, through their personal iTunes accounts, provided they adhere to the district's acceptable use policy. Students are encouraged to download free apps only. The downloading of apps for a fee is the responsibility of the student and his or her parent, guardian. Circumvention of managed settings. Student iPads are managed by the district's Department of Technology to promote their security and settings. Students may not circumvent any district management settings through software restoration or jailbreaking. Such acts will result in the confiscation of the iPad and disciplinary action, inspection. Spot checks of iPads will take place throughout the school year. Reloading apps. Technical difficulties or the discovery of pirated software may result in the need for the iPad to be restored from backup. The district does not accept responsibility for the loss of any software or documents deleted due to a reformat or reimage. Software upgrades. Upgraded versions of licensed software, apps are available from time to time. Students may be required to check in their iPads for periodic updates and syncing, protecting and storing your iPad. Student iPads are identified through the serial number as well as district asset tag labels. For iPads sent home with a student, the iPad is attached to a student's name through the signed acceptable use policy form. Storing your iPad. Store your iPad according to your teacher's instructions, iPad cart or locker. Do not place anything on top of the iPad. Do not store your iPad in a vehicle, leaving your iPad in unsupervised areas. Under no circumstances should iPads be left in unsupervised areas such as school grounds, the cafeteria, computer labs, locker rooms, library, unlocked classrooms, and hallways. Any iPad left in these areas is in danger of being stolen. If an iPad is found in an unsupervised area, it will be taken to the office, repairing or replacing your iPad. School District Protection. The Uniondale School District is ensuring iPads to cover iPad replacement in the event of theft, loss, or accidental damage. Parents will need to pay the replacement cost, after applicable insurance deductible, $250, should the iPad be damaged, stolen, or lost. Parents also will have to pay for damaged, stolen or lost accessories, claims. In the event an iPad is lost, stolen, or damaged, you must report it to your teacher. The teacher will provide you with a form to complete and submit to the principal with a copy to the business office. In the event of theft, a police report must be filed and attached. Students, parents must file this documentation and pay the full replacement cost, after applicable insurance deductible, $250, cost of repairs. In the event that insurance does not provide coverage, students, parents will be held responsible for all damages to their iPads including, but not limited to broken screens, cracked plastic pieces, inoperability from jailbreaking, etc. Should the cost to repair exceed the cost of purchasing a new device, the student, parent will pay the full replacement value. Lost items such as covers and cables will be charged at the actual replacement cost provision. In the event of any operational issues, damage to, theft, or loss of an issued iPad, the parent or guardian of the student shall pay to the district the full and entire cost of repairs and/or replacement for the issued iPad as solely and exclusively determined by the district. Any and all damaged and/or inoperable iPads, related chargers, cases, components, and other accessories remain the property of the district. The parent or guardian of the student shall pay the full and entire cost of the issued iPad and related chargers, cases, components, and other accessories to the extent the issued iPad and related chargers, cases, components, and other accessories are not returned within 30 days of the district's due date. Repair and replacement costs may be offset by district insurance and/or the manufacturer's warranty, if any, forms and policies. Uniondale UFSD iPad Acceptable Use Policy, Students. The Apple iPad, when used responsibly, can support the education and organization of our students. The use of a school-issued iPad connected wirelessly to the school network is allowed inside and outside the classroom during the school day. The iPad is the Uniondale School District's property. The Uniondale School District's Code of Conduct, the Computer Network and Internet Use Policy and building-level discipline policies apply to the use of the iPad and the Internet at home and at school. The Acceptable Use Policy is included in the district calendar and posted on the Internet. See User Policy link on the school's homepage. In the event that a school-issued iPad is lost, stolen, or broken through user error or neglect, it will be the responsibility of the student and parent to reimburse the district for the replacement cost of the iPad. In addition to the district's acceptable use policy, the following terms and conditions further define the acceptable use and conditions of borrowing of the iPad. Transmission of any material in violation of any national, state or local laws and regulations is prohibited. This includes, but is not limited to copyrighted material, threatening or obscene material, racially offensive material, or material protected by trade secret or contract. Vandalism will result in cancellation of privileges. Vandalism is defined as any malicious attempt to harm or destroy the iPad itself, or software in the computer, on the network on any network through the Internet, or of another user. This includes, but is not limited to the uploading or creation of computer viruses. Failure to exercise reasonable precaution in the care and use of the iPad may result in the suspension or cancellation of a student's iPad privileges and/or other appropriate disciplinary action in accordance with the Uniondale School District's Code of Conduct or building-level discipline policies. The use of the iPad for personal financial gain is prohibited. Installation of software by students is prohibited. Your iPad and charger have been assigned a serial number and a Uniondale USFD asset tag number. Do not remove the identification labels. You are responsible for the return of the iPad as directed by your teacher or administrator. Keep your iPad properly charged. Never leave your iPad unattended anywhere, anytime. All iPads have a web filtering client. Do not tamper with the web filtering client. If you are having a problem with your iPad, save your work then reboot your iPad. Most problems are solved by rebooting the iPad. If the problem still persists, report your problem to an administrator. You are responsible for damages due to misuse. Do not place any stickers on the iPad. The student is permitted to install content on the school-issued iPad as long as acceptable use policy guidelines are followed. All messages or postings from a school-issued iPad to any internet site on or off campus, at any time, shall be educationally purposeful, legal, and appropriate. Audio and video recordings or photos taken in school are strictly prohibited unless under the supervision, and with the express permission, of a faculty member. Students will respect copyright laws and licensing agreements pertaining to materials stored on a school-issued iPad. In the event that the district allows school-issued iPads to go home, a student is responsible for bringing it to school as required by his or her teachers. If a student does not bring their school-issued iPad to school, or fails to charge it fully, a substitute will not be provided and chargers will not be made available. The student will be required to do their schoolwork offline while still meeting all class assignments. It is the responsibility of the student to make up any missed work. The school retains the right to have an administrator, teacher, or other employee collect and/or inspect the school-issued iPad at any time and to modify its setting or content as needed. The use of a school-issued iPad is a privilege and not a right. Any user who does not comply with these guidelines may lose access or have their iPad privileges revoked. Summary of responsibilities. Any users who have repeated or severe infractions of the iPad acceptable use policy will be subject to disciplinary action as stated in the Code of Conduct and other district policies. Nothing contained herein shall interfere with or in any way take away from the district's acceptable use policy for technology or any other policies. They remain in effect and govern the use of this technology as well. Parent, guardian responsibilities. Discuss with your children the values and standards they should follow on the use of the Internet. In the event that a school-issued iPad is lost, stolen, or broken through user error or neglect, it will be the responsibility of the student, parent to pay the deductible, $250, to cover the replacement of the school-issued iPad. Student responsibilities. Use the iPad in a responsible and ethical manner. Obey school rules and adhere to acceptable use policy guidelines regarding the use of technology. Use all technology resources in an appropriate manner so as to not damage school equipment. Contact an administrator about any security problems they may encounter. Monitor all activity on their accounts. Turn off and secure their iPad when not in use.
Activities strictly prohibited. Illegal installation or transmission of copyrighted materials. Any action that violates existing school board policy or public law. Sending, accessing, uploading, downloading, or distributing offensive, profane, threatening, pornographic, obscene, or sexually explicit materials. Use of chat rooms, sites selling term papers, book reports and other forms of student work. Messaging services. Changing of iPad settings. Exceptions include personal settings such as font size, brightness, etc. Downloading apps. Gaining access to other students' accounts, files, and/or data. Vandalism. Bypassing the district filter. Use or possession of hacking software.
The iPad loan and use agreement form must be completed and turned in to your child's math teacher before they can be allowed to bring the iPad home.